All right, thank you. It is Monday, March 9th, 2026, calling to order the Charter Review Committee. First item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Burnett?
Here.
Ms. Newberry?
Here.
Ms. DeCristoforo?
Here.
Mr. Newton?
Here.
The chair is here. Second item on the agenda, public comment. CJ, do you have any public comments that you want to?
I'm good.
I want to make sure that I'm including you. All right, if there's, for those of you watching at home, there is no one in the audience this evening, so we are going to skip over public comment. Item number 3 for discussion, consideration, and action, meeting minutes from the January 29th, 2026 meeting. Give everybody a minute to look those over. And if there's no comments or adjustments, I look for a motion to approve. Don't all jump at once.
I move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor? Aye. And the meeting minutes are passed as noted.
Do you want me to upload those?
I can do it.
Okay.
It's all good. All right. Next on our agenda, for discussion, consideration, and action, the list and priorities for ballot questions and material review. So with all of the items that we are looking at this evening, I did share a number of things. We have the personnel board changes that was provided with Beth, and then we also have the draft ballot questions that David sent along that outlines the terms and term limits. And then we also have a 42-page document from General Code. They worked with the town clerk's office. They went through, did a full charter review, and then have called out things that could be updated based on Rhode Island general law, any inconsistencies with the town ordinances that have since been passed, and the like of that. Any other, superfluous language, and they made a lot of general comments as well. So we have that editorial to go, and the editorials to go along with it. So what I'd like to start with, you just excuse me because I didn't print out the agenda, is starting off with the ballot questions prepared by the solicitor. So he had previously prepared these for Councilor Ogier back at the previous council. And we talked about, staggering the terms, so then that way we have 3 candidates and on one revolving 4-year term, and then 2 other candidates on the other 4-year. So we'd still have the bi-yearly elections, but then they would get 4-year terms instead of the current 2, and then they would be limited to the 8 years, so 2 consecutive terms instead of what's currently out, I believe, still at 8. But it would be 4 terms instead of 2 terms. Do we have any comments or thoughts on what has been provided on that?
One question that I had when I was reviewing this, I know we discussed with the solicitor, we have to determine for individuals that currently are in office, whether their terms would reset, if you will. I don't know if we have to include that type of language in here or not. I don't know if we just need to follow up with them further to add that, because I don't think it is in here, or it's not necessarily spelled out. I don't know if we would need to or not. An item that I remember from our last conversation.
Yep.
They did reset when the 4 consecutive were established, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2020. Yep.
Yeah.
hey, if they want to keep going for longer, then Godspeed to them.
I like this question. My only thought is that it's been in front of the town council at least
Before.
once.
Yeah.
Has it been twice?
Once.
Once. And they shot it down. So will we have more than, like, I think in the event that this is shot down,
Mhm.
let's have others for them to choose from,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like, how many are we, do we think we want to present to them?
Well, let's see, we got the terms and limits. We have,
School committee changes.
in the ones that we have from David, we have the
Facilities management and capital
facilities
assets.
manager.
Mhm.
What else one is?
And then we had the personnel board. We were tracking the state law changes.
I feel like the state, a lot of the things in that review were very nitpicky and not substantive, which goes
Mhm.
back to, we've talked about it several times, but making this a permanent standing committee.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's a charter issue or a charter thing, or if we just want to sort of work on getting that to be by ordinance.
Yeah, is it currently by ordinance?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I believe. Was it, I'm trying to remember. Did it say that we had to, was that?
I think it's an ordinance that says every 5 years.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we have a 42-page document that are nitpicky things that are worthwhile to just, every election cycle pick
bang off
So,
3 or
through
4 or
in,
5, yeah.
I think there are certainly some that can be lumped together very easily.
Yeah,
I mean, I went through this list that they gave us and I said, okay, this is high priority, this coincides with our state law updates, this is a low priority.
mhm.
Some of the more nitpicky things that they did, it's like, thank you for bringing that to our attention, but in the scheme of things, what is this really, what substantial change is that going to get us?
Mhm.
And if there was no substantial change, I'm just like,
Yeah,
great that it's been editorialized and called out that this word should be or instead of and.
right.
Helpful.
Or it was a typo
But-
that says of instead
Right.
of or, yeah.
So I mean, right now, then, the list that we had is the terms and limits, the facilities manager, personnel board updates, and state law changes. Those are the 4 that we've really been focusing our efforts on.
Mhm.
I know we discussed this briefly at the last meeting, and I don't know if we want to add it to the list, but it's because of the recent special election.
Mhm.
It's kind of front of mind, and I go back to kind of what Paulette was saying to us at the very first meeting,
Yep,
and what Beth was just saying, don't try to make sure there's substantive changes.
yeah.
I don't know if we want to add some type of standards regarding communications of either special elections or recall elections,
Mhm.
because a lot of the feedback that I got from neighbors of mine were, even ahead of time and afterwards, I didn't
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the charter doesn't give any instruction as what the requirements are.
right.
I asked those neighbors as well, like, how would you best be communicated to?
Mhm.
Social media, what? The majority of them said mail. They said, if I got a mail letter, even with like a QR code that went to the town website and
Mhm.
explained, what the bond question was, that would have been perfect.
Yep.
Just because everybody's so busy and a lot of people, they just don't keep up.
We have nothing in the charter about special elections?
Nothing in regards to what
How
needs
it's
to be communicated.
Communicated.
Yes.
I like that one.
Yeah.
And we
Because-
probably,
And a lot of people, obviously you go on Facebook stuff, people get skeptical of the government. Well, then you can't. You could say, no, if you mail everybody, again,
Mhm.
a quick postcard, it can't cost that much. I mean, candidates do it, when they're running
yeah.
for office, so it can't be that expensive. I just don't know what if there would be a downside to it, you know what I mean? I think it would kind of be an easy win,
Yeah.
because then you're guaranteeing the town's communicating those type of things to them.
Yeah,
And I don't know if we would have known to talk about that before, because
No.
Yeah, and it's front of mind because the special election
Yeah.
just happened, so.
I like that one.
Yep.
Because we did receive a lot of feedback that it wasn't communicated well.
And this would be a way to show, like, we're receiving your feedback and we're
Right,
trying to.
and watching what's currently happening and
Yes.
how the system is working or
Yep.
not working.
Well, also too, a bond applies to every resident
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and business paying taxes.
Yeah.
So we want to ensure that we're providing them with the opportunity to understand.
There was one area that they called out in this, and I know I marked it up, and I can't find it.
Hold on, why don't you let me,
What was
Yeah.
the topic?
It was about, state law dictates that we have to advertise. And I know David at our last meeting was saying, we can't lessen the restrictions,
Right,
but we can
tighten-
strengthen
make
them.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to find that.
And I think I think in the charter, the only communication advertisement we had, if I remember correctly, was in regards to when we're having elections, who the candidates are, or something like that. And it has to be posted in the newspaper, I believe. Again, probably
yeah,
pretty
where I've been
outdated.
saying through the whole charter, like, we should have on the town website via email. I just looked up advertisement in that document, Jeff, and the only section is comprehensive plan requires a public hearing with notice prior to adoption or amendment of the comprehensive plan. The notice shall be published as a paid advertisement in a
Okay.
newspaper of general circulation.
I thought I read something else.
I mean, and I would expect it to be just for like these one-off scenarios again. I figured just recall and special elections. I mean, we can expand it if you guys feel it appropriate, but I think those are the, because obviously regular elections, people know about, they're gonna show up if they're gonna show up. They're aware of it, but.
I mean, I know the Secretary of State also does like a mailer that says, okay, this is your example, you're living in North Smithfield, this is gonna be your example ballot, this is what you're voting on. If it has like state bonds, it gives like an outline of what it would cost and all that stuff. So even for general elections, I would say, because sometimes North Smithfield, we put out bonds aside from the special election, and we could say, okay, this would, here are the candidates, just listing the candidates, and if candidates have web pages or whatever, but like more specifically bonds and charter updates.
Yeah,
These are gonna be because, there may be an election where people are like, I don't feel like voting. It's just, whatever being voted on, and there's no important information that they feel will affect them. So they just bypass it. But then if they get the mail or they scan the QR code, they say, oh, okay, this is gonna be voted on.
And it gives the town an area to sell with their, the bonds they're trying to push, or.
Yep.
Again, if it's just like a recall election, the reason why and all that.
Right.
Stuff. Hope it never comes to that, but.
No, they're there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
The town of North Smithfield doesn't send out a mailer if they have any questions on the ballot? I'm trying to think the last time we did.
To my recollection of my time, that's been very long in this town, I don't believe we have. Maybe, and I'm putting a maybe on this, maybe the last one that went through was for the middle school. But I don't remember. I know when the library was up I think there was some collateral for the library.
Mm-hmm.
But that would have been back in 2008, 2000, whenever they were redeveloping the mill.
I think that's another reason why we should have a standing charter review committee. Like we have these general code, we want to pick away at those, right? And then there may just be other questions that come up that we won't be able to put on this election, so we want to get it on maybe a special or, not a special, the next, like every 2 years. But if we have a standing charter review committee, then we can at least request a budget. And then if we request a budget, then we could fund any sort of education to support
Mm-hmm.
the questions that we put on the
Yeah.
ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. was also the point that Mr. Clifford brought up at the last meeting about capping what the council can spend without,
For the general fund.
yeah.
Essentially, I mean, my reaction to that is we elect a town council to make those decisions. That's my initial response, but I'd be curious if people feel differently.
For what decisions exactly?
But budget-related
Oh, yeah.
decisions. I don't know that you need
A cap.
my initial reaction is, yeah, it's sort of, I don't know that going back to voters about that kind of thing, it strikes me that it's just this is what we entrust the town council to do.
Are you talking about like the reserves?
The reserves.
What was, and I believe a resident brought that up, right?
Mhm.
And what was the concern, like what was the recommendation? It was in the minutes, but I don't know if it
To
was like.
cap
To
the
make a cap.
amount
To-
that
yeah.
can
So
be
then
sent
that,
But pretty much
on.
institute a control that would control them from just spending it frivolously if they wanted to. Because there is no language in the charter that prevents the council for just spending unrestricted funds.
Weird, because people are asking us to spend it frivolously right now. so.
Well, no, but that's the concern. I mean, nobody is, but you just, I don't know if he's no concerned in the future, if you do have a council that just wants to do what they want, they can just do what they want.
Yeah. Well, I think that council, and I'm not saying this because I'm on the council, but I think we've done a good job with this last bond in requesting the advisement from the bond council as well as the fiscal advisor.
Well, and I think we also need to remember, as Jeff keeps pointing out, like, we're not thinking about like this particular council.
Yeah.
It's putting the guide rails in place for how everything runs regardless of who's there.
Well, I think it's establishing a process.
Right.
Right, because, and I don't know what the process has been in the past as far as how we've managed the reserves, but I know for this bond, at least I was pretty adamant that we have the fiscal advisor at these meetings, we have the bond council at these meetings,
Mhm.
we provide a fiscal impact statement, we have a financial forecast. Maybe that's a process that's established, like, these are the requirements, this is what the council needs in order to make an informed decision. Because the fiscal advisor is never going to lead us astray, right? I
Right.
think they said, what, 17% or something, like, I forget what the numbers were last meeting, but we took the advice of the fiscal advisor. So I think it's more process-oriented than establishing a cap.
Mhm.
there's also, in speaking of bonds and all that stuff, I know previously we had talked about the town council's responsibilities of executing said bond. Because I think we've all seen in the past how sometimes we vote for bonds and then some things happen, other things don't. And we should have a time, this could speak more to the time frame of when those bonds are executed.
Mhm.
So then that way they're executed appropriately, and then we don't have the concern of capping the general fund
Right.
to, cover the differential.
Mhm.
I think that would be a question that would get a lot of attention.
That the council executes a bond upon enacted or
Within
they
that
execute
frame.
the bond upon 2 years of inaction.
Well, if you're taking out a bond, and like, I don't necessarily know enough about how they've been used in the past, but if you're taking out a bond, it's to fund a project.
Mhm.
You need to have a project, right, in order to go out for bond. So, like, can you put a timeline on it really? Like, what if a project takes,
Well,
I mean, I would probably put a starting
yeah, So-
timeframe, like the project has to be started within a certain amount of time.
so say it's, we have a general road repaving bond. A plan needs to be enacted within 2 years, or a plan needs to be provided within the first year, and then start doing something in the second year. You know, they need to have the pavers and grounds crew
Yeah.
getting the roads repaved by year 2.
And what are the
I
repercussions
was
of them
gonna
not?
just ask the
Yeah.
same question, or what?
Yeah,
That's the challenging part.
Yeah,
because you can't just like take the bond away.
No.
give the money back.
Well, that's where we have been talking about penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what is the punishment if we are not adhering to?
I mean, that is the challenging part, because I know we did bring up accountability within the charter.
Yep. And then
I
there,
haven't had the time to further research if any other towns have
right.
accountability standards in the charter, but I would be curious.
And then there's the fact of, okay, well, we have outdated sections, so if we're gonna penalize somebody, are we gonna penalize them on an outdated section that no longer applies, you
Well,
know?
that, I mean, and you'd have to define the penalties, because some penalties might be more egregious than others, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, if you miss a date that's in the charter, like the budget committee's supposed to start by the 15th of the 15th of January, and they start on the 16th. Well, is that, the penalty for that,
Right.
just the same penalty as not, starting, the use of bond funds, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think you'd have to do certain levels, or,
Right.
really get into the nitty-gritty defining what the penalties could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that strikes me as very difficult to,
Yeah, to define.
and I sort of think severe violation of the charter, the remedy is recall. Yeah,
I would
I
agree.
think that is,
I would agree,
right?
because that's what the voters voted for, and that's what they
Yeah.
wanted, and,
That might not be super satisfying if somebody's doing something really bad and you
Yeah.
feel like but that might be the best of all possibilities.
But could you recall the entire town council if they don't use a bond in time? Like according to the deadline?
Good.
Maybe the check is just the next election, I suppose.
Mm.
Right.
but I guess it depends, because if we pass 4-year terms and somebody does it within the first 6 months,
That is
Then-
one of the arguments against for that we will hear, yeah, that the resident last time
Mhm.
raised.
Okay, so it sounds like we got some questions for David on penalties, on how that could be applied.
I do very much though like the communication requirement
Mhm.
for special elections and education, and like, can we, and not just special elections, I think it's any
I
election.
think for
if
all
they're-
elections, yeah.
It's ensuring that we're providing education.
I mean, that could fall, we could add a whole new section to Article 2 under elections. As far as, I mean, yeah, I would almost venture to say that we could provide a new section under Article 2 that talks about how the public is notified.
and I mean, and the only pushback I can see of that is cost. But again, I can't imagine it costs that
Well-
much. I mean, there'll obviously be a time investment, obviously to make,
The-
little mailers and a website that defines everything, but from a,
Well, there
Budget.
already is a website.
yeah, well, they're gonna have to add a page or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and I don't know, if we do that internally, we outsource that. But again, I can't imagine the cost is a lot from
Well-
a financial
I'm
perspective,
trying to
The-
think what we
they
were,
sell-
versus the benefit
Yeah.
of communicating to the
Right.
entire town.
We have no problem getting our tax bills.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was thinking of, we mail out the tax bills.
Those come out really pretty regularly, so. And the water bills too, I know not everyone's hooked up to the water system, but man, do we get those bills pretty quick.
when do we get the tax bills?
Summer.
I think usually July or August.
Okay. So if we know that we get the tax bills in July and August, can we piggyback on that mailer and include any special election or like
Well,
Well, the
education?
special election's gonna depend on the timing.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Especially-
Regular
but
election.
regular election, everything has to be to the Secretary of State by the end of June.
Right.
So there could be the ability to throw, I mean, I know the water department, when they were updating their water meters, had put in a little slip that said, hey, we're looking to update water meters. Can you, provide this information? And that was slipped into the water bill. So I mean, that could easily, I would think,
Yeah,
that
If
when
you
they're
wanna piggyback off.
putting in the tax,
Yeah,
for the because everybody's gonna get their taxes,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, if you wanna save on
I think it
mailing.
would
And-
mitigate
and then-
the cost.
And then for the council's benefit, that really
What?
gives them the ability to say, well, we mailed it with your
Yes,
tax bill.
Yes,
Mhm.
you had
Except
to
for-
open your
You
tax
had
bill.
to have opened this unless you're delinquent on your taxes.
Well, we also have renters.
True.
Not a lot, but we do.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
then
So-
you have to just think about how that's going to,
Mhm.
Are we
who's
able to
going
let-
to be in charge of that and how that's
Right.
going to happen.
Or we just do, a simple postcard.
Yeah.
I think postcards,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it can be you can have two different ones,
Yeah.
but.
because I'm sure that people aren't gonna be looking to be educated in August either,
Yeah,
They're gonna be paying attention to what's upcoming in the election more in October.
September,
August,
October.
September.
Yeah.
But if you have some sort of QR code or
Mhm.
that's directing them to a website.
and you could say that the website's updated regularly
Mm-hmm.
if we need it to be, of course.
Right.
I do wonder how much anybody's gonna remember that they got that in
August.
the summer but at least it got done.
Yeah,
Mm.
well, I mean, and I think it's a good point, maybe further define, when, for a general election, have it out in September, October, so it is front of mind of voters.
Mhm.
Whereas a special election would have to be, say, 4 weeks in advance or whatever we might
Mhm.
want it to be.
I think maybe 2 months in advance, so if people do have questions, they can come to open forum and express any
Mhm.
concerns or voice any questions.
Right.
Or maybe not.
Education certainly would not hurt anything
No.
to move it forward. Okay, so I'll bump up communications in our list of, I have 8 right now.
And we only got to one question so far.
Well, I mean, how are people feeling with term and term limits and staggering the terms? I mean, we've been talking about this since the onset of our committee, and I haven't heard any drawback of it yet.
I think it's very hard to learn as a town councilor. I think the first year is a learning curve. You're learning processes, you're better understanding the caveats of municipal government. Then you have your second year where you really want, at least in my opinion or my experience, you really want to be able to influence change. And now you're gonna now you have to start campaigning again. I personally thought I was going to be able to influence a lot more change, but 2 years is not a lot of time to do that. So I would be open to 4 years. I don't really necessarily see a downside unless I don't know who said it, either Kevin or Greg, if somebody does something egregious within the first 4 months of their term, then you have them for 4 years unless you issue a recall.
That is, I think that's going to be the biggest objection. It's a
Yeah.
totally reasonable objection. And if we're gonna go with this, I think we have to make the case for why the benefits outweigh that drawback.
I mean-
And then pointing to recall.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. I was gonna say, do we then need to do a review of recall to see how feasible it is to make the voters comfortable?
We should probably at
Yeah.
least discuss it. That's a really good
Yeah.
point.
You know,
Yeah.
if it does come
It's
to
not
that.
an easy process.
And if it's-
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be, but.
Well, that's the thing,
yeah.
is that by design, or how do you make it so the voters are comfortable with the recall process if they're on the fence about this specifically for that reason? Because I think, to Greg's point, that's gonna be the major drawback or pushback.
I hear what everybody's saying, but I don't think we have had a recall in this town. To my historical knowledge of this town, I don't think there has ever been,
But is that because the recall standards are so tough?
could be, but when,
I
when the-
skimmed over them when we originally went through, but.
sure. But I mean, when we're talking recall, this is, you know, the numbers that were put together were based on, well, I guess it was revised in 2018. So I mean, do we look to lessen the, because it's a percentage of folks that voted in the last election, right?
The recall petition as it pertains to a townwide office holder shall be signed by at least 30% of the votes cast in the most recent election for the office held by the official named in the petition.
Okay.
Do we- Okay. How many people voted in the last election? Do we know?
The last council election? I don't know.
This past year, I mean, 2024.
For your spots?
Yeah,
I can look
I'm
up.
trying to think like how many.
I thought maybe the top vote getters got like 1,200 or 1,300. Those are the numbers that come to mind, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Something like that.
I can't remember.
1,200, 1,300 voters?
That the
thought-
top,
I
the
thought-
top.
I thought it was 3,000.
No,
It could very
Yeah,
well
well,
have been. I
the
don't.
challenge with it is too, though, is obviously we had so many candidates.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You see.
That there's, all the votes are spread out, so it's tough.
Yeah,
to
the
even just
number
Base
of-
it off of that.
Yeah.
Even the highest vote getter,
Yeah.
you know, there still might have been, and never mind, is that everybody that could vote? I mean, obviously that doesn't apply to this, but,
Mm. I think it's total number of voters,
yeah.
of votes
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
in
it.
North Smithfield, and then 30%. I don't know if it's gonna be that big of a number.
It would just give me an overall total of ballots. Well, in the last presidential election, let's do.
That's the best number to go by,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people are gonna vote for president, even
Yeah.
if they don't vote for anything else.
Give you an idea.
So if you'll all excuse me while I do some quick math here.
What was the number?
I'm adding them up.
Oh, we have to add them.
Yeah,
Let's see if I can get it faster. It was.
this is bad.
7,205
7,000.
voted for in the presidential election.
So what's 30% of 7,000?
But it says 30% of the votes for that individual,
No.
No.
or is it just?
Votes
That
cast in the
voted
most
in
recent
last
election
Is
for
it-
the office held
Yeah.
by the
So
official.
So it would have to, it wouldn't even be this number, it would be a smaller number, because if
Mhm.
everybody didn't vote for council.
Right.
Right.
They just came out to vote for that, we'd have to, I don't know if we could even get that. Well, we could get it. would just
Yeah, we could get
have to
it,
ask- we'd have
it's
to ask for
just, yeah.
We're not gonna be able to get it now.
Okay, but let's say it's 3,000 people vote for
Yeah.
town council, right?
30% is what,
Oh, it's more than
100?
that. I mean, if it was 7,000 for president, it's gonna be close to that,
I
but
would
it's
say
not
be-
gonna be.
I would gauge around 5,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's
5,
what I would say. That's
5,000.
probably on the low end, it's probably a little bit more, but
So that's
Maybe
1,500
1,500.
signatures.
you'd have to get 1,500 signatures.
I mean, if you're trying to get rid of somebody, I think you should have
It
a
shouldn't be
significant
easy.
amount, yeah, like you should have a significant amount of signatures,
Yeah.
I agree.
right? Like if it's not, if you had 5,000, right, and let's say,
Like,
We
I
say-
don't want somebody to just go, Rebecca has horses and I don't like horses, let me get 50 people who don't like horses to sign this,
Yeah.
right? Like, you
But-
wanna make sure it's.
But that doesn't fall under the reasons for,
No.
the reasons
No.
for
No,
the
I'm
recall.
being facetious, but you know, it's,
Unless owning horses is a felony.
well,
Although the recall provision is, it is broad because it
It
says
is.
including but not limited to. So actually you could try to recall somebody for having horses, I think, without violating the charter. Now it would be horrible to do, but that's another question, is whether that language needs to be
Yeah.
I mean,
tightened, but I don't know.
And I also think that with social media, somebody
Oh, yeah.
could, like, if we were to say, okay, let's do 10%,
I'd be-
somebody could
I'd
easily
agree.
get 500
Yeah, I'd agree.
signatures.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I would favor lowering the threshold, but it's
Yeah.
worth thinking about
It
because
is.
it's likely to come up if we argue for 4-year terms.
Yeah.
What is another counter argument that it will deter people from? So there's the argument that like campaigning every 2 years is exhausting and onerous, which I would imagine it would be. Would anybody claim that a 4-year term is going to deter people because it's such a commitment versus just 2 years? Do you think people would see it that way?
Well, I think it's, if they argue that, then they would have to argue the same for the town administrator position
Right.
and the same for the
Yeah.
school committee positions.
Right, because those
Because
are
are all 4-year
Four-year
terms.
yeah.
positions.
So that's a good response to
wait,
that.
are you saying that it might deter people from running because
Yeah,
4
I
years
mean,
is-
just thinking about counter arguments. I don't necessarily think that's true,
I
but
think the only, like, in my experience, the deterrent, at least for me in hindsight, is that it's only a 2-year term,
yeah, that's
you know?
what
like,
I think.
So it may
but-
open up more people who want to
Yeah.
run, which would be good.
Yeah, because campaigning is a giant pain in the butt.
Yeah,
So at the state level, they use 15%. And I don't know if it's because statewide, you have to get way more signatures. But It's a quick Google search, I tried to get a benchmark. And they use 15%. But again, that's at the state level.
one other thing we might look up is just how common it is for, I don't have no idea whether other town councils have 4-year terms versus 2. How much of an aberration would this be if we went to 4 years on the town council? Would that put us out of step with most other towns in Rhode Island? I actually don't know.
I might have actually looked at that at one point.
Because I know we talked about like the parallels in the federal level. Like people could say, well, our representatives in Congress and the House get 2-year terms. Why should town councilors get 4-year terms? I think we have good arguments for why if we want to make them, but it would be helpful to be able to say, hey, there are other towns that do it this way.
That's a good question for Iglesias.
We could look that up, yeah.
Mm. I'm also asking AI.
I don't know why it defaults me to Yahoo, like, leave me alone.
Barrington.
Hmm.
Most in Rhode Island operate with 2-year terms.
2-year? I would be interested in hearing what the council collectively says. I think the only reason why, like, what I'm remembering, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the questions were just presented to them too late,
I think so too.
and they just didn't feel as
Was it
though.
also, I'm trying to remember, was it tied to, did they sort of tie the town manager and the 4-year staggered terms together?
I think those are two separate
Were they two
questions.
separate ones?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they were presented too late. The town council didn't feel that there'd be enough time to educate the public and that they didn't have enough time to make an informed decision. So I think if we provide the questions well in advance
They have
with
the number, 4 of 39,
Okay.
got 4-year terms.
4 of 39, what towns?
Providence, Barrington, North Providence, and Richmond.
So a variety of sizes.
Mm.
Yeah. But every other city and town has.
That's interesting to know. I mean,
Mm.
so we would be unusual, but that's okay.
Mm. I
But-
think if we provide like the pros and cons.
Yeah, we have to think about framing all of these things, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are our best arguments? And
Well, I have heard that going from the 2-year to 4-year, some folks have said it keeps them on their toes to make sure that they're doing a good job for the 2 years so that they get reelected. However, the same could be said if you get reelected for your second 4-year term and no one's banging on the door to do a recall. So, okay. But I think the precedent has been set by the town itself that we've already elected to have our town administrator be in office for 2 4-year terms, and they're term limited there. The school committee is 4-year terms, and I can't remember the limits that we put in place for them, but there's enough of a history there that we at some point in the past 10 years, we have all said we are comfortable with 4-year terms for these positions.
That's a good point.
I think too, having a town council in their role for 4 years will also further, I think it will further, I don't know how to say this, because my like postpartum brain. I imagine it's hard for a town administrator. They're in a 4-year term, and then they get a new council, right? And then they have to probably like provide education, and like I remember sitting down with Igliozzi, and there was like a list of all these cases, and there's just such a learning curve if you have new counselors, that I feel like in order to really like enable a successful administrator, having a consistent counsel for his duration, like the duration of their term.
Well, it wouldn't be, because they'd have new rolling people come in every 2 years, even though it's a 4-year term.
I thought that was only,
Staggered. The reason we're talking about 4-year terms is to stagger the terms.
I thought that, so we would still have
So
an
there-
election every 2 years?
So there'd
Yes.
possibly
Yes.
always be a turnover, at least 1 or 2 people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not
Or possibly,
necessarily,
yes,
but yeah,
possibly, yeah.
yeah.
I think people are going to get tripped up on staggered.
We do it for school committee.
And I think we discussed that we wanted that because then you have longevity. A couple other people are still on the council
Right.
that can
Mm.
help those new people if they are brand new to the process.
So you would never have an entirely new council. You might have
Correct.
like 2 new councilors.
Correct. 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Mhm.
For me personally, knowing where this town has been, being on the planning board, interacting with other town boards in my career, keeping that institutional knowledge and just not having a clean slate, that can be very dangerous.
Mhm.
If, especially, as you were saying, there's cases against the town, and now we have 5 brand-new individuals who are gung-ho, and they're like, not saying that this will happen, but I'm just putting this out there as an example. David's been working on the case with the town administrator. They've been following the direction from the previous council. We have a brand-new council, they're like, no,
Yeah.
don't settle that case. We don't believe, and they're just,
And the institutional knowledge is gone.
they
Right.
might not have all the facts.
Is that more process though? I mean, I'm not saying that it's not completely, but can you fix that process so when you do have new people come in, the onboarding process is better? You get people caught up to speed quicker, and you can help with some of that institutional knowledge.
Staggered terms.
Well, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that,
I mean, I don't know, has there been a case where all 5 seats have flipped? I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't know if that was the case, has ever been the case.
well, let's think about who's not able to run again with the next election.
Well, everybody is.
No, not Claire.
No, she is,
She
because
is.
she.
Because of
this
when
will-
the
Oh.
term.
It started,
when
the limit started in 2020. So
Okay.
everybody who has been serving since 2020, so
Has,
Still has another 2
has the
years.
ability
Claire
to
has another
serve.
2 years,
Okay.
up till 2028.
Okay. So, but after the next 2 years, let's say everybody runs again, everybody gets reelected, right? So you have the same town council. Who on the town council is not able to run again?
That, I believe it would be John and Kim would be next.
John, Kim,
Yeah.
and Claire. So that's
Yeah.
3 seats. So, yeah, it's a little dangerous, right? You wouldn't have those 3, say they're not able to run again.
Right.
You wouldn't have those 3.
I mean, unfortunately, you can say the same thing about the administrative role. You have one new person that comes in, doesn't know what they're.
Yeah,
That
but
doesn't
the
have the
administrator has more
experience.
onboarding than I think the town council. Like the administration, there's like a transition period, you have a transition team.
So can you institute something like that with the town council?
I didn't mind our onboarding as a town council.
No.
I thought David Igliosi did a great job onboarding us, like, from the legal perspective. And then it's really just, you kind of just like jump into it, and if you have a good president, right, if you have good town councilors, they kind of like teach you the ropes as you go. But I think that 4-year terms would just better enable, better enable you as a counselor. And I guess staggered's fine.
Well, staggered would make the most sense for that
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other comments? Discussion to be had?
Sorry, I feel like we really like beat that one up, like for the
Hey,
4th or 5th time.
you know what? It's
That's
good just to kind of refresh our memories and
Yeah.
where we want to go, because that makes putting this presentation to the council that much easier.
Mhm. Okay. Do we want to go through the rest of Igliosi's questions, or what, like, how do we feel
Yep.
about that?
Let's do that. Let's move on to the facilities manager. Thoughts, comments on that guy?
What was Scott's feedback on this?
Scott had initially said, let's see, he wanted to make sure that it was something that the administration could control a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, and I can't remember his direct comments, but that was the gist of it. So while yes, it would be a position created by the charter, everything else would be factored in by ordinance. So like salary.
So then does it need to be created in the charter?
I think at this point, yes.
Okay.
I think,
Our-
I agree.
Our town has had such horrible history in building maintenance and just maintenance of general facilities that we need to have something for
Mhm.
this. Because otherwise, we're doomed to repeat history.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have an educated individual that's familiar with buildings and assets so that they can proactively see where the budget needs to be
Yeah.
to maintain this building, the DPW building, the police station, fire stations, the water system, the sewer system. We need some level of engineering
Yeah.
and knowledge and management of that.
Okay. If that's the case, I like option B better than option A. I don't know if we would present both to the town council, but I think that, and Ray would probably kill me for saying this, but I think that some of what's outlined in option A could fall under DPW. But I like option B. I think it's more of a strategic role.
Mhm.
I like that it has capital improvement plan, overseeing construction renovation projects, ensuring compliance with environmental standards. Like, those are gaps currently, I think, in the town.
Yep.
So I think option B covers the gaps. I think option A is just more of like an operational role, which I feel like some of these, like coordinating and supervising the work of outside vendors and contractors. I mean, who does that today? Probably DPW to some
Mhm.
degree. Maintaining inventory records of town-owned equipment, materials, and supplies. I think, you know, they're pursuing a capital asset management program, so I think that might be,
And that would, this person would also plug in with the Asset Management
Yeah.
Commission very easily.
mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if we have to pick one, I vote B. But maybe we present both.
I prefer B as well.
You two are quiet over there.
I don't have a strong feeling about one versus the other, so I'm fine with B.
Okay.
I think
I'm in alignment too.
B. I think maybe it's also showing the town council the two questions, and then, you know, stating that we went with B for X, Y, and Z
Okay.
reasons, but they might feel that A is the better option, but we can provide them with like the context.
Yeah.
I personally like B, segregation.
Yep.
You're segregating them from DPW so they can be fully independent if they have to be.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I'm gonna put
that's a
that in
great
our
point.
notes.
And then that way, they're reporting directly to the administrator, they're reporting directly to the council. They have the ability to coordinate with planning and building inspectional services if they need to. You know, I think it gives that a little bit of a independence to be able to
Mhm.
operate
Yeah.
appropriately
Mhm.
and not be hindered or
Yeah.
by
Mhm.
trying to move things forward.
I like it.
Okay.
I wasn't sold on it in the beginning, but I'm sold on it now.
You've seen we need it. Well, and the way that I'm envisioning this is how we present this to council is we follow up with, we present what we think we need to put it forth to the voters.
Mhm.
And then if there's further discussion, then we bring in, okay, well, David provided us with two options.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Mhm.
about these two. But, because I don't want to just go in front of the council and be like, okay, well, we got option A and option B.
Yeah, no.
We really like option B.
No.
I'd just like to keep that option in the back pocket
Yeah.
and bring it out if we need to. And then we can have, I think you get a better discussion that way. Okay, so that's it for the items that David put together. I'm gonna give you the floor for personnel board changes.
Okay, so I looked at, I spoke to Sue about what they handle. We heard from Tony about sort of the role now and where we are with it. I did a first pass, but after looking at as I said, after looking at the review from the state, I would actually I would cross out a lot more about this, because I think that there's, it sort of has the setup up above, and we don't really need that in there either. I think we really just need to leave in, the only part we need to leave in really is what they are actually doing, which is certify to appointing officers the persons who are candidates or applicants for such position in the classified service, possess the qualifications required by the classification plan, such as certification to apply to present to present and prospective employees. Such certification lists shall show the names of the 3 persons standing highest thereon who are available for appointment to employment or to promotion, if there be as many as 3 such names thereon, or all the names on the list if there are less than 3. The appointing authority shall appoint one of the persons so certified. And then I added in to act at the discretion of the town administrator as an interview committee for non-union employees.
I like that.
Because I feel like if the town administrator would like them there, then the administrator can call them in to perform that function, but they don't need to. Again, I think I'll take another pass at it and cross out a lot of the beginning part. But that's sort of how I feel now. And my feeling when I first went to the personnel board, I didn't feel really strongly that this needed to be changed. But recognizing how much of this it says that the personnel board does, I don't feel comfortable with us not changing it, because somebody can come back and say, I wasn't properly interviewed. And then we're looking at a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I feel really confident that this portion of the charter really needs a little revamp.
Okay. Very good.
I think we're going to need to educate the public on that.
Yeah, I didn't see it at first either. But when I went in and they're like, we don't do any of that. And
Like examine all payrolls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
there could be an argument made for getting rid of the personnel board, but I like that there are people sitting there who are members of the town, who are making sure that everybody in union positions is being interviewed fairly, and they're all getting asked the same questions, and I think it's a really important role, so I'm happy that we have it in there. I just think we need to cut down on their listed duties.
Okay. Any other comments for the personnel board? Made that one nice and easy.
Happy to help.
So then the other part on our list was this document from General Code. I don't know, I'm not feeling like we need to go page by page
now.
on this, but I do want to give everybody the opportunity to say, you know, what, if there were any sections or call-outs that stood out to them. So I'll open the floor to the group for that. Nothing stood out?
I did not go through with a fine tooth comb.
I didn't either.
I will defer to people that did.
I poked through it to the extent that I could, but.
No, I think really the biggest thing, and I know we had talked about this previously as well. It was on page 5, under the general comments, item D, was the definition of terms. I know we had talked about providing that level of clarity for people that that may be looking at the town charter. I wouldn't necessarily just say that charter, town, and town council would be the 3 things that get defined, but following on the following page under E, the nomenclature, I think we could start to really incorporate a little bit more of the definitions as well. I know that we talked about it. It caught my eye that they brought it up as well. I didn't know if that, we're now have
Page is it on?
page 5.
5. I really like that idea, but I don't think
Here's
it's
the page, right?
Mhm.
the most important thing.
It's not getting us enough meat for change.
Well, and it goes back to, this should be a standing committee.
Yep, exactly. Well, when we get a 42-page document, I mean, that certainly says, it speaks to the reason why we would need a standing charter committee. Okay. I did call out and just circle the parts that relate to updates for Rhode Island general law. So I was just going to make sure David confirmed that, yes, these specific sections that are mentioned of Rhode Island general law, those could all be incorporated into one question. I was actually surprised how little there are. There's only like 3 that need to be updated based on general law. But then I remembered the school committee, when they were here in front of us, they were also saying that there are portions of the school committee that just need to be updated with
Right.
State law. So that's going to be one of my questions back to general code to say, can you take another stab at the school committee to make sure that there's no issue with the state law?
I know the administrators talked about the gender neutral language one. I circled that one.
Yep.
Is that something we have to do as a separate item? We can't, I assume we do.
I think we
Based off-
do have to have it as a
Yeah.
separate
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, based off of what David was saying.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Yep. And changing to the state of Rhode Island instead of state of Rhode Island and
And
Providence.
Providence Plantations.
That should have been
Circle that one too.
That should have been on when that question to change the state
Right,
name.
yeah, that's right,
Right.
exactly right.
If the name changes, shall we update the charter? But I guess we were a little late to that game.
I mean, I thought some of the stuff about condensing, I think we talked about this months ago, but Articles 3 and 8 are somewhat duplicative on
Yes.
budget stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a question of, again, is it a priority? I mean, it would make the charter more readable to the average person, and we have discussed that as a valuable thing. On the other hand, I don't know if it's a priority.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put it as
Yeah.
because the commentary in the charter regarding it's all correct, pretty
Right.
much, so.
Right. Yeah.
Just making it easier for the reader is low on the list.
Yeah, I agree.
I
agree.
mean, I did like the dates and timeframes.
Yeah.
This chart
The chart,
was,
Yeah, the chart was
Mhm.
cool.
Oh,
actually, yeah.
fantastic.
I agree.
it's almost like, can we just screenshot that and put that on the town website? And be like, just
Probably,
for
yes.
everyone's reference,
I like
this,
it,
this
yeah.
is actually, for your information, this is where everything can be found.
Well, we talked about that before, right?
Yeah.
Like specifying the timeline in the charter.
Mhm.
We might not need to put it in the charter, but let's use what was given to us. We
Right.
can still post it somewhere.
I mean,
With-
it's great that they even give the charter references and
Yeah. Mhm.
hyperlink the section that you have to go to.
Yeah.
And with all of that being said, I think that it is an important question to eventually make its way to the ballot, which is another reason why we should have a standing charter review committee, so we can continue to have these things on a ballot and continue to optimize the charter.
So do we say to the council, we think this is one of the biggest priorities, but we don't want to add it to the charter? Like, is that something we can sort of
Well,
bring to them and say?
Because we're convened by ordinance and not charter,
Mhm.
all Rebecca has to do is introduce a new ordinance that
Okay.
would call for that,
All right.
and then if it passes amongst the council, then then we move forward with it.
Sorry, what was it?
Oh, I just asked, like, when we go before the council to talk about what our priorities are, perhaps one of the big things we say is, we really feel that this should be, we don't want to add this to the charter, but we really feel that this should be a standing committee.
Yeah,
And I think that's just ordinance-based.
yeah.
So you could work with David to rewrite the ordinance that forms the charter review committee and say, okay, it's going to be it's not gonna be in every 5 years, it's gonna be a continuous committee.
Because you'd have to imagine if this committee was rolling from the get-go of the charter, a lot of this stuff would have been cleaned up on.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
That's right.
And we'd be in a much better state.
That's right.
One would hope.
And
Because
You'll
every
have-
election, you'd have
Yeah.
charter
Yes.
review questions.
And it took us quite a bit to familiarize ourselves with the process.
Right.
We had to do the general code work again, so if we had this as a standing committee, there would be that institutional knowledge.
Mhm.
I hate having my back, Jim, so
That's
sorry.
fine.
Okay.
I'm here.
And even, I mean, you could even right, you'd be able to kind of map out prioritizing article by article,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
right? And really dive
Yeah.
into specific articles more
I mean,
thoroughly instead
at
of
that-
reading the whole thing front to
Right.
back.
At that point, if the council is like, okay, charter
That's a good
review
idea.
committee, we're appointing you for, if the terms are co-concurrent with either the 2-year or the 4-year term, whatever we decide to go with. But if the charter review is concurrent with the council, then, okay, the council could very easily say, all right, we'd like you to focus on Articles 1, 2, and 3 for this election cycle. And
Mhm.
then following cycle, 4, 5, and 6. These are your, they could very easily outline the priorities of where things need to go. And if they, you know what? There's general law changes for the planning department and things coming down the road. Let's push that up. So the general law changes are now updated to be for the planning board, so then that way we're out of any potential hot water we could be in.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm in full agreement. I think this document really underscores the need to have this committee just not meet every 5 years.
Like, how much did it cost us for this review?
That's a great question for Joanne and Tammy.
Well, only because if we did have a standing committee, and we've done this work,
Yep.
then
Well,
we're
I mean,
not,
well, and you can, how long do you think it would, how many charter changes, or how many elections do you think cycles we have to take to get through all that?
I would say that we would do it by article. So having awful with Roman numerals.
10, 15, 16, 17, 18.
18, thank you, 18 articles, and we do 3 articles in election cycle, we could knock it out
But it,
You
yeah,
know,
it would still take
within,
a long time just with what we have there, never
Right.
mind other things that come up that we identify.
Right.
At least 12 years.
But what's outlined,
yeah.
aside from updating our charter to reflect state law,
Mhm.
what was provided, I mean, they're not going to change their feedback, like, there's not gonna be different feedback if they
Right.
do the assessment again, right? So I think, like, we have the work.
Right.
So now it's just a matter of ensuring we're prioritizing, like, a charter review committee is meeting to determine, okay, of the feedback provided by the general code, this is what we wanna suggest as prioritization, but also too, anything new that comes up in town.
Yep.
Incorporating those priorities as well. Yeah, I'd be interested in understanding how much it costs for this review, so then we're not,
I
we
don't
don't
think,
have to.
yeah, I don't think that much, because all of a sudden I was on an email with Joanne and Tammy and the people at General Code, okay, we can have this to you by the end of February.
That was
And-
kinda quick.
They turned this around very quickly. It was done, Joanne reached out to them in January, and then this was a couple weeks ago that we got this. So
That's quick.
they must have had it ready to go.
That charter's a mess, we're gonna.
Right.
We've already got that done.
Okay. So I think that my only other comment was, for, the question for David was that general question for staggered terms, because it's mentioned in the budget committee, it's mentioned in the personnel board, it's mentioned on the planning board. So do we need to, can that be just a general one question to remove references to staggered terms within the charter, aside from school committee and potentially town council? Anything else that stuck out to folks? I know it's a thrilling read.
How do I wanna capture that, the staggered terms?
So under budget committee,
Mhm.
section 3 in the budget committee, article 3, section 3, budget committee. Then also under article 7, Department of Finance, section 5, Board of Assessment Review. There's reference of staggered terms.
Mhm.
It's item C on this guy. Then, Article 12, Planning Department, there's a question for staggered terms with initial.
So we just wanna ensure, we want the
Yeah.
language to be consistent.
Well, when they, when the charter was organized, they did staggered terms, so then that way, planning board, the whole planning board isn't
No.
new.
Right,
So that, Gary is on one series, I'm on another series, Roland's is on one
Mhm.
series, Doc Benoit's on another series, so it's each, we have terms for 5 years, but each individual has, so when the charter got enacted, they had to decide, okay, you're gonna serve a 5-year term, you're gonna serve a 4-year term, you're gonna serve a 3-year term, you're gonna serve a 2-year term, and you're gonna serve a 1-year term.
okay,
So then that way, the staggered terms would start.
right.
So they're just having us remove that language
Mhm.
because the staggered terms are now in effect.
Gotcha.
So it's just removing wording that no longer applies.
But will that wording potentially apply in the future? I guess we could always put it back.
No, because it's already here.
No, but if we apply staggered terms to,
Staggered terms for the council will be different though, because they're,
no, not the council, but what if we apply staggered terms to another board or committee?
well, then that would either be done by
Ordinance,
ordinance,
okay.
because it's a board that's formed by the council,
Mhm.
or it would be specific to the other boards, but, all the boards that are referenced
Okay.
planning, budget, zoning,
Have.
personnel, all have those staggered terms.
Okay.
And the Board of Assessment too, left them out. So there's 5 committees that are specifically referenced that have those,
Okay.
that had those initial staggered terms. We'll take a look at this, I'll have them take another look at the school department for the general law requirements and updates. And that is pretty much that for what they have put together for our review.
May I use the restroom?
No. Do you want to call adjournment? No,
I'm gonna just step away for one.
that's fine. Sorry while I make my notes. So then, let's see, last on my list that we were jotting down of all the things that we've discussed to date was talking about the general fund cap and the bond time limits. Is that something that we feel strongly that we should present to,
I
To the
think we have to
council.
figure out what the penalty is.
mhm.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, I guess what's the best way to go about that? Just try to benchmark off other cities and towns
Yeah,
to see?
I was gonna shoot David an email and say, this is what we've talked about to date. What kind of background can you provide that may be done in other cities and towns?
Right.
And if that means, if there's a penalty for not complying with the charter, we have it outlined in the recall, but is it, do we make the recall process a little easier if there's willful violation of the charter? I don't know, just spitballing. But it sounds like we should get the question on how we can, what penalties may be out there before we talk about bond time limits and general fund capping and that stuff.
It looks like there might be a state law that caps fines for violating charter at $500 or 30 days in jail.
Oh,
Tar
it
and
should be
feather.
and, it should be and, it shouldn't be or.
It says or both for violations. Says Rhode Island General Law 45-6-2, so that might be a state thing. But I think it'd still be worth the ask, David.
Yeah,
It was just based off a quick Google search.
who
But it
gets,
says,
I don't know.
who
if
gets that $500 then?
huh?
Who gets the $500?
Probably the town. I think
But that's
people
for
do.
municipal court.
Well, the municipal court is the one that collects it
Yeah, but,
and enforces it. I mean, it says right here that we have something,
yeah, we do.
so
Municipal court goes to the rest of it. Hold on.
is authorized to enforce penalties for violations of town ordinances with limits of 500.
Well, that's if like a
30 days.
business or a resident violates town ordinance.
Yeah,
They can be fined or jail time.
yeah.
But what if we have a sitting councilor that willfully violates the charter,
Yeah.
aside from a recall, which
I mean,
we have outlined?
I mean, with that, good luck proving that they willfully did it.
Mm.
There's always a paper trail.
Yeah. True, nowadays.
Yeah.
But no, I agree.
I think
Asking
recall,
David,
yeah.
David would be a
Okay.
good point of reference for it.
Yeah, I would worry that it would be, something like that in the charter would be wielded by anybody with an objection to something the town council has done, because charter language is so broad that you could start to twist it in a variety of ways that accuses the council of violating. I just wonder if you're opening up a can of worms,
Mm-hmm.
would be my,
And then every other week we're paying like a $500 fine apiece. You know?
or just getting sidetracked with
Yeah, like that.
accusations
Yeah.
back and forth about.
Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about making sure that the council gets things done, so we don't want to. And we want to encourage people to run as opposed to
Exactly.
discourage them to run.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we feel like we still have some work to do before we present our recommendations to council?
I think so. What I was gonna propose to do is that for our next meeting, which we have at the end of the month on the 25th
This month?
of this
We have
month,
two.
March
Okay.
25th. Yeah, I apologize for canceling our last meeting, but just with our historic blizzard, it just was not happening very easily. So I think my plan is, at least on the 25th, that we all meet together. I'll make sure, try to get David here to answer any outstanding questions. But I think we have our list of priorities.
Are we going to try to draft those, or at least
Thanks.
take a first pass at drafting those?
Right, I was gonna work with, we have the terms and limits drafted already. We have the
Mhm.
facilities, option B drafted.
Right.
You wanna take one more pass at the personnel board,
Mhm.
so we can certainly do that. We have the state law updates and staggered terms for various boards language that was in this document
Mhm.
here. And then our final one is the communication part,
Mhm. Special election?
just elections.
Election.
Elections.
Is that the only one? Hmm.
Did we also want to ask David about the community engagement department thing, or
Oh, I liked
Do we-
that one. Scott shot it down.
I forget kind of how we, yeah.
I
Where did
think
we end up on that?
we, from our conversations with the administrator here,
Yeah.
it sounded like he wanted to try to have a position that would do that.
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
And that would
yeah.
be a position up by ordinance or by
Right.
his appointment and creation. So I would like to give him the opportunity to kind of present that and how he sees that working,
Mhm.
and and then see what support we may need to give for him to appropriately address that.
Okay.
But I think the communication aspect for elections is gonna be a good starting point,
Yeah.
because then that will give whoever that person may be in the future at least a good baseline. Okay, we need to be providing this document for elections and special elections for education. So at least that gets things started.
Mhm.
I don't think we're gonna be able to, I know, we have big aspirations on this
Yeah.
one. So I'm trying to make sure that we get something that can be
I think
successful
that's smart, yeah.
at the onset here. And
Mhm.
then as the charter review committee becomes a more standing committee, then that can be one of those special items that gets prioritized, that can get,
Mhm.
built upon.
Mhm.
But I think this would be a good foundation to start with.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to use the March 25th meeting to essentially refine our questions and content for questions that the town solicitor has not done yet.
Yep.
Okay. And you're going to request that he attend?
Yeah.
Okay. You might find that my notes are better than AI.
I bet they are. All right,
And they
anybody?
didn't use any water.
Yeah, and I didn't use, aside from the water I drank.
All right. Before we adjourn, is there anything, well, I guess, do we have any recommendations to council as of yet? Do we want to notify them that we'll be ready probably their second meeting in April for a presentation? Or put it out to them if they just want to have a special meeting to have, because I know you guys have had some lengthy agenda items. Can we put that to you to see what they feel
See
like
which
doing?
meeting is most appropriate. Well, what's our deadline? We need to have this to them by end of
We
April, right?
we were aiming to have all of the language finalized by May, so then that way you guys, the council can vote on it in May, and then you guys can focus on budget after that.
Okay.
But by the latest, we do have to have something by June.
So is that April 20th? That's the third Monday in May?
Yeah. I think April 20th is fine.
Okay.
Do you think we could get it by the 6th? Only because I'm thinking about, like, March, they have a few mediation meetings, so I'm wondering if they're going to use, like, the 6th or the 20th, and so that's gonna be a relatively lengthy meeting. Why don't I ask which
Yeah,
meeting will make the most sense?
Well,
I don't-
as Jeff suggested, do we need to have just a special meeting?
I-
That's the one.
I would either push, if we're gonna do that, I would either push for the 20th or we have a special meeting.
Okay.
Because I think, given my other commitments, I think the 6th, pulling something together might be,
Okay.
because we might meet on the 25th, and David might need some time
Change
to,
stuff,
Okay.
yeah.
David will need some time to update language. I'm gonna want to put together a presentation appropriately for the
Okay.
council.
So preference is April 20th or a special meeting?
Yep.
As long as it's done in April.
Right. Or if they so feel obliged, we could make their presentation, and then you guys could have your discussion on our April 29th meeting too.
Okay.
We could certainly invite have a joint meeting with the
Okay.
council on our April 29th meeting. Could make any discussion, have any discussion, presentation and discussion for these 5 items.
Okay.
And then they're obviously gonna wanna see revised language from David, but
Mhm.
then at least at that point, we've done our work. They have it, the ball's in their court with David. David
Mhm.
needs to modify the language for any of the ballot questions, and then a following meeting in May,
Yeah.
if it's a the regular council meeting on the 4th or the 18th, then we could just say, okay, great, thank you, and then
Okay.
be done.
Okay. I will put that on the agenda.
Perfect.
Let me draft it now.
All right. Anybody got anything else? Then I will adjourn our meeting for this evening, and thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.